So this is the second part, and I'm talking about talents here. This is the standard setup for M plus, and in these bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there is no real need to change anything. You would go wild charge for first boss on Tolagor to dodge the upheaval, and otherwise there's no real need to swap away from renewal. In fact, I honestly believe that swapping out of renewal is a DPS loss in pretty much all the cases, except for let's say mother load where you wanna make use of the wild charge on the last boss and the first boss, and perhaps free hold maybe to jump on the shark boss whenever you bait the shark successfully. And but otherwise, renewal is just going to give you more damage because you don't really need to spend globals on yourself. Um, yeah, as far as the first talent throw goes, this is where you'll be making choices pretty much all the time, and even then, send word is the base case or the base talent for 95+% of scenarios. There are some people who like to play 2, 3 growth endings and prosperity, but in reality that's just very very bad, and it's much less throughput than Sendward. Sendward, if used correctly, is pseudo external, like with the fully hotted tank, with the spring blossoms, light bloom, rejuve, and cultivation and regrowth, and even wild growth. You're gonna get 7 mastery stacks, and your Sendward is gonna be healing like crazy, and it just does a lot of healing by itself. And combined with all the mastery stacks, it's in my opinion big int if you spec prosperity to play around growth ending. But people do that. I don't really know why, but it's their choice. Yeah. Prosperity is only really good for two cases, I would say. The first case being Eudora, whenever you are unable to top people, and that's the case if you have no DH in the party, if you don't have a Prot Warrior to intervene, and yes, pretty much that case. And the second case would be Tyrannical King's Rest for the Axe Lady. And the reason why it's fine to go Prosperity and KR is because there's not a lot of tank damage and it's healable without Sunward. And it gets really specific here because on the Severing Axe has about a 20-25 second cooldown. And let's say you get the first axe. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna apply Light Bloom, you're gonna apply Rejuve, you're gonna apply Send Ward, right? And you're gonna start doing your other stuff. And you kind of want to Swiftmint late when you have all the mastery. And with the Swiftmint being 25 second baseline, when the next axe comes, you're not gonna have Send Ward or Swiftmint. So that's where you start being in trouble. However, if you do spec into Prosperity and you use your first Swiftmint early, which is good because you're gonna get your growth ending on the target, and then you can start regrowthing. You're gonna have your second Swiftmint up, and for the next axe, and then you can even get the first one that you used back. So on the first one, you can easily commit Iron Bark, and then on the second one, you're gonna have 2 Swiftmints. So that's how it works. Abundance is works two ways. First way it works is it saves you mana, and whenever you cast, I think the number is 12 regrowths a minute, it's gonna be efficient to spec into abundance, and that is only really the case for temple. But I still like to play Senward in temple because of the second boss room, the snake room, where you end up saving the time in the dungeon, and there's a lot of tank healing there. So Senward is a very strong choice. And if you do feel that mana is going to be a problem, and it is going to be a problem on a hierarchy, you can spec into Lucid Dreams Minor or even Major. And this is only really necessary for Grievous 24, Fortified it was, and I do think you would want this on a 23, 24 High Tyrannical, but I'm not really sure, I don't remember. Then you can of course play the verse mana trinket and you know, drink whenever your rogue is able to cloak or something like that. The second use for abundance is when you to pair it with Ever Rising Tide, and this is really good in really only Wake Rest Fortified, maybe Wake Rest Bursting Fortified is a really strong choice. And the reason, or rather, the way you would want to play around this is when you use ZRT, you have 7 or 8 globals depending on your haze, so you can get Light Bloom Reju and rejuice on the entire party. And when you get the empowered effect at 8 stacks in my case, you can start blasting regrowths at to the 32% increased healing. So that's a really strong way to play around abundance and how to deal with a lot of unpredictable damage in Waitress especially, and in particular, I mean, maggots, which is with the random thorns cast and uproots and so on and so on. Otherwise, abundance is really a mana talent, but Waitress is a particular case. Okay, I want to touch on essences, and maybe I didn't really cover some of the concepts when I talked about stats, and I do want to say that there is no good Resto Druid specific trades. The best one is growth ending, and in my opinion, it's not even that good. Mostly because, at least for me, I like to hold my Swiftmend and treat it as a very important cooldown. So if I don't have to use it, I won't use it. And that means in practice that I'm gonna be holding my Swiftmend for sometimes up to a minute, and hence I lose a lot of value from growth ending. But the reason why I play it and I don't think about swapping it out is because this piece here, Hoodoo the Slithering Loa, is by far the best piece. Swirling Sands and Overwhelming Power is a very strong combo for both single target damage, AoE damage, and of course healing. You're gonna be getting a lot of OP procs as a druid, while cat weaving obviously. And then I used to think that this headpiece right here from the first mythic boss is the best. And I really only changed my mind when I started noticing how many times Undulating Tides procced unnecessarily. And this happens all the time on higher keys when you take unavoidable damage. For example, second boss in Underworld, it's gonna proc on Tantrum pretty much, and it can be useful, it can save you. But for like a better example, third boss Underworld, unless you have a personal or a rallying cry or something like that, this is gonna proc pretty much on every festering harvest, I believe it's called. So you're gonna be playing without a trade for 45 seconds, and that's just not good. And yeah, and seeing as this is a single target damage trade, not very strong on AoE, I actually tested it for myself and simmed to confirm. Swelling Sands, and or rather this piece, is gonna perform better on single target whenever undulating tides effectiveness is less than 100%. So that's pretty much in every case on higher keys, and yeah, I'm just gonna stick with this one. Next, I want to touch on procs, and these are the trades that you want on inside the pack. Trade winds, swirling sands, right? Meticulous scheming is also pretty good on this piece here, and meticulous scheming also on Pistolier shoulders, and Blood Rite on Sanguinal Solstice shoulders. And like I said, there's no good choices for Resto Druid. Rampant Growth is very underwhelming, and Waking Dream, Early Harvest, etc. are just like really bad. Lively Spirit is okay, but it's hard to get full value from it because it's very situational. However, it's a nice thing to have if you have no other choice. I would for surely pick Lively Spirit over something like Rampant Growth. So it's a really important topic here, but regarding stat procs. As a healer, it's always better to have passive stats than to have on-demand or even procs. And this is one of the reasons why Brawn is better than Berserkering, because it's just very, very hard to get full value from procs as a healer. But when you play a lot of procs, in my case, running stance, trade winds, and inside the pack, I'm gonna have something pretty much all the time, and there is some pattern you can kind of follow. Um, so regarding Azerite, I want to really cover the Biz setup here, and in my opinion, I'm pretty close to Biz. It might be even Biz. The problem I have are these shoulders with bracing, chill, and vampiric speed being too bad. But I don't really mind the vampiric speed here because, like I said earlier, Bearform and Barkskin are just in crazy, and whenever there's group healing, Light Bloom is going to be on yourself, so you're not really at risk of getting one shot. And whenever there is lots of group healing, you're gonna be the first one, or rather, you're gonna be the target who's gonna get the most healing from the group. Also, because of Ysera's dream, but Light Bloom on yourself is one of the other reasons. So, not too concerned about vampiric speed. Then I'm forced to play Bracing Chill because Heed My Call is not viable in this season, mostly because you're going to be in charge of handling the Enchanted Emissaries, and risking to break a CC with Heed My Call is just unacceptable, so you just have to play this. The other shoulders, which are insane, are Sanguine Monstrosity ones. They have High Noon, Blood right here. I think Blood Siphon, Mastery and Leech, and Resounding Protection. Those are really, really good, but I really like the overlaps with Inside the Pack and Trade Winds. So when both of them proc, I get extra 2k mastery pretty much, and that's more than double in my case. So it's like a pseudo cooldown. In my opinion, it's better than Trank. So when that happens, I can ignore pretty much everything, just enjoy the passive healing from Shroom and maybe a Wall Growth I casted before, and just do damage. Okay, so that's it for trades. Pretty much, I think you should always play at least 2 high noons because there's no good choices. I would play 3 if it would fit my setup, but I do have the Hood of the Slithering Loa, so that's not really an option. As far as the secondaries go, Overwhelming Power is really the best one. Close second would be Blood Siphon, and then close third would be Life Speed and Synergistic Growth. Everything else is very underwhelming. You would just pick the DPS traits such as Gut Ripper. Gut Ripper is really okay, and everything else is just bad, and that includes Bracing Chill, Concentrated Mending. Woundbinder, actually, I was told that it started proccing more, as if it got fixed, but I'm not really sure. I haven't seen it for myself. I just don't have it as an option on any of my pieces, so I don't really care. And that's it for traits and talents.